Welcome to Hack the Real Size podcast with Heather, Ashley, and myself, Keira, where we like to delve into the personal journeys of people who are in the entertainment industry with a little bit of cheeky fun. And tonight's guest, we are really, really lucky to have Rachael Love, who is an actress and a model and an auditions coordinator at Heyman's Talent, which is based in Columbus, Ohio. So we are going to massively pick her brains as to what makes a good audition tape and what they're looking for and how to catch the eye. So we're really, really, really privileged to have you on tonight. So thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So you know the run through of the podcast, you know how it's going to go. So I will just jump straight in with some icebreaker questions. If you don't want to answer any of them, just skip. But
that's fine. I'll let you know.
Nothing scary, I promise.
Okay.
So nice and easy. What would you say is your perfect pizza? Toppings included.
Okay, I love some deep dish pizza, like bread. You know how Oprah said, I love bread. That's me. I love bread. So deep dish is my jam. I'm kind of boring. Like I like extra sauce, pepperoni, and maybe some like green bell peppers. But other than that, I mean, and a little bit overcooked because you know how the cheese get crunchy around the edges. That's how I like it. Yeah.
So extra sauce
right now.
Is that an American thing? Because I think over here in the UK, you'd never think of having extra sauce, but
really,
that's like a thing, isn't it? I hear that in films and things.
It's good stuff. I mean, I don't know if other people like as much sauce as I do, but some people get it on the side. And some people get it on the side and dip their crust in it. That's also an option. So.
Yeah, do you ever go to Warren? I don't know why you would, but do you ever go
to
Warren? My husband's from there, and they have a pizza that's literally just a deep dish and sauce and sprinkled cheese, like Parmesan. That's it. That's the pizza. And I
would take that.
Like I don't know, but it's a huge staple. So if you're ever going to Cleveland and you want to drive through Warren, I'll send you the name, and then you can. Ooh. That would be your pizza. It would be really.
It probably would. It sounds delicious.
That's a bit wasteful as a pizza. Like, where's the barbecue chicken topping and the sweet corn and the onions and the? Okay, we probably do pizza very differently over here. So
did you say sweet corn?
You guys know how
to hear that? I was like, I don't even know what she's saying right now.
Yellow, the yellow vegetable.
We know what you're saying. We just that is like pineapple and ham on a pizza. It just doesn't go.
Yeah, we don't do that here.
Really?
No.
Ooh, I feel so naughty.
Yeah. Mental note: when we visit Keira, do not order pizza.
Well, you don't know. It's not standard. I just quite happen to like a barbecue chicken pizza, and I think that's one of the things they put on it. I mean, I don't know.
So I want to try it. I'm gonna try it because you know come in. Heather's like,
I don't even think that's an option.
I was just gonna say
corn.
Yeah.
The Americans are all about customer service. If you want your sweet corn, you get your sweet corn.
I'm sorry.
They might have to go to the store to buy it.
Hungry. Thank you.
I've ruined your appetite. Well, you're welcome. What do you think is an acceptable amount of TV shows or TV episodes to watch in one binge session?
I feel like 6 is probably pushing it. Like that's the cutoff. 6, and I'm like, okay, I got to get up and do something with my life because I'm wasting time here.
You were in it for 6 of them. I like that though, that you were in it for 6. That's dedication for you.
Hey,
6 30-minute episodes or 6 1-hour episodes?
Those hit different, you know. Those are different.
I was thinking 6 1-hour episodes.
Yes, good. Yeah.
I think 2020 ruined me because you're at home. You're like, what do? I don't know. Let's binge watch. So sorry.
Pizza for 6 hours and watch.
Right. There you go. Why am I not bigger? I should be bigger than this if I sit there and eat pizza and watch 6 hours of TV.
You're magical. Enjoy it.
You're not eating corn on your pizza. That's where you're going wrong.
Okay. Yeah. That's what it is.
Go try it. Do you have any useless talents?
Useless. Not that I could think of. I don't know. I feel like all of my talents were developed. Say it again.
Every talent has a use.
Well, I feel like my talents were developed due to necessity.
Oh, okay. That's
So
pretty
like I'd work on it based on, okay, I need this, so I should probably figure out how to do this thing, you know.
Mhm.
But
So like learning how to play the Cup song from Pitch Perfect is a talent from necessity, because pretty much my only talent to be like
Okay.
3 days.
Yeah.
that's one way to view it.
Is there something you are really great at cooking?
So my family, we're huge foodies, to be honest with you. My grandfather actually owned a restaurant and then passed it down to my grandfather. And now my father owns a restaurant. It's barbecue, soul food. It's called Whitmore's Barbecue in Cleveland. So if anyone ever wants to stop by, if you're in Cleveland, it is delicious barbecue.
That is my favorite food is
yeah.
barbecue. Yes.
Okay, so you'd probably love it then for sure. But my mother is also a great cook. So 2 great cooks came together and I started cooking at the restaurants with them when I was 12 years old. So that was my first job. I was working at the restaurants making side dishes, macaroni and cheese, collard greens, baked beans, peach cobbler. And I was in the basement with my mom, just, you know, working with her for hours. So I've been a cook for a really long time. It's been like 20 years because if I was 12, I'm 32 now. So yeah, 20 years I've been cooking. But now I kind of lean into the desserts. When I turned, what was it? I think 13 or 14, I started cooking the cakes with my sister, my older sister. She's 6 years older than me. And so I love sugar. Like that's my thing. Even growing up, I just love sugar. So you too? You too? Okay. So you know how what I'm talking about. So I think I've leaned into cinnamon rolls pretty heavy. And again, this was out of necessity because my husband and I did some missionary work in Honduras for 3 months altogether. And when we were there, the first time we went, I was like, there's no cinnamon rolls here. There was the 2 things that I really wanted was cinnamon rolls and pizza, and they didn't have either of them. So I'm like, when I go back to the States, next time we come back, I have to know how to make cinnamon rolls. Otherwise, I'm going to be dying here in Honduras. So I learned how to make cinnamon rolls. And every year my family would get together for special occasions or whatever. They would be like, hey, bring a dessert. I would be like, I got you. And I would make cinnamon rolls for them. So I'd say that's, I guess, my favorite thing to bake or feel like I've almost perfected cinnamon rolls, in my opinion. But yeah.
Okay, you'll have to send the recipe to us because I have a recipe from the Pioneer Woman that I use for cinnamon rolls, but I love trying new because that's what we do at Christmas time. We bake a lot of different flavors of rolls, sweet rolls, cinnamon rolls, orange, cranberry. So I would love your cinnamon roll recipe if you want to share it.
I will. Sometimes I follow my heart while I'm making it, but I'll try to articulate it into a recipe for you.
That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Has the hunger come back now, Heather?
Yes, it actually has. When I was like, please, I was like,
I'm literally like, thanks for that.
Satiate with some water.
So very smoothly on to the next one then. Brownies. Do you like the crispy edge or the gooey middle? I'm totally drooling again.
I like both. I just am a fan of it all, you know? So the thing is, you can make a gooey brownie and still have a crispy edge. So sometimes I'll just get the corner piece. It's still gooey, but the edge is crispy.
And her piece is just like this big.
Oh.
Yeah, right. The whole left side.
This is such a good conversation. I'm so happy right now. Like, probably.
Not having what we had for dinner or planned. We're gonna have pizza. We're gonna find. I don't know how to really bake that well. I tried. I'm just not good at it. Gonna have to get cinnamon rolls and now brownies.
Yummy, 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 yum, yum, yum. And this is a great one for you because of the job that you do. If you could remake any film using just the cast of the Muppets and only one human actor, like they always do in their films, just one human actor, what film would it be and who would your human actor be?
That is such a random question that I haven't thought about in my life.
Now, though, actually, every movie you watch, you're going to be like, the Muppets would be great.
We ask it to all our guests because everyone comes up with such brilliant answers. But I actually have to do shout out to my brother here because he's the one that gave me that one way back when we started this. That was his one he threw at me. So thanks, Cal.
Yeah.
There's this really, I don't know if you guys are a fan of Will Ferrell, but to me, he almost is a Muppet. in a sense, like the way that he acts. So I would keep him in this movie. But have you ever heard of this movie called Kicking and Screaming?
Yes.
Hilarious.
Okay, yeah, it's a funny movie.
Yes, it's so funny. And it's like these kids on a soccer team, and Will Ferrell becomes the coach. And it is, you got to watch it. Like, even though it feels like a kid's movie, but it's so funny. Like, if you listen, he's saying some really funny stuff the whole way through. And I think it would be fun to watch him interact with some Muppets because he's already a Muppet. So
does the Muppets have to like run around football?
Sorry.
That sounds like a fun film, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if Will Ferrell is listening, we just gave you a movie idea. There you go.
You're welcome, Will.
Rachael can cast for you.
I got you.
No, they're all Muppets, but
right. I'll be casting the voice, I guess. I don't know.
Thank you very much, Rachael, for dealing with my questions. With
of course.
Such class. I'm going to pass you on to Ashley now, and she will take over from me.
Hi. So our first question is, where are you from and where did you grow up?
I live in Columbus, Ohio now, and then I grew up in a suburb of Akron. So growing up, I told people I was from Cleveland. I would just say I'm from Cleveland. And here in Columbus, it actually gets me mad street cred because people think Cleveland is so tough, right? But I was actually in the suburbs. It's called Twinsburg.
Okay.
You know what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, see, it's a small town, so a lot of people don't know anything about it, which is why I just said Cleveland, because everybody knows where Cleveland is. And when I was younger, nobody knew where Akron was until LeBron James came on the scene, and they were, oh, okay, yeah, I know Akron. So technically, it was a suburb of Akron. Mm-hmm. My father's a twin. We lived in Twinsburg. His twin also lived in Twinsburg. So we all kind of grew up, close, which was nice because I had cousins who lived down the street. So we had fun.
They actually, don't they have a twins like annual get together there as well?
Yes, the Twins Day Festival. We used to go to the Twins Day Festival all the time. My father and his twin won like twins that looked the most alike. They were like third place or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so I know you can call that Cleveland. I think that
close enough. And I spent a lot of time in Cleveland. Like I said, like having my parents' restaurant in Cleveland, I would be in Cleveland all the time. I had friends in Cleveland. So like I never went to Akron, which is why I never told people I was from Akron. I'm like, I'm from Cleveland because that's where I spend most of my time,
Okay. So what started you into acting? Did you enjoy it as a child, or is it something that you kind of got into as you got older?
I kind of stumbled into it. I wasn't really even trying to get into acting, to be honest with you. But so the first time I ever performed on stage, I was singing. So I'm a singer, love to sing, but that's not where the money's at. So what happened was I went to a catering job. I used to help my sister do this catering work with a company. It was like a grocery store who did catering in Cleveland. And everybody there had second jobs. And so I'm asking people, oh, so what else do you do? And they're like, oh, I'm in insurance and I just am here on the weekends. And this one lady that I asked, she said, well, I produce training content for companies. And I'm like, what? What she was saying was she was a producer for training videos for different companies. So I'm like, training content. So she showed me a video and I was like, I was thinking like, oh, I can do that. I think I can do that. I was like, well, if you ever need any help, let me know. She's like, I think I will. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I didn't think I was actually going to hear from her. But like 2 weeks later, she calls me like, hey, we're shooting something. Do you want to come and read for this part as the customer for this training video? So I'm like, sure. I came and read for it. And she's like, yeah, I think we can use you. And at the time I wasn't signed with any agency. I didn't even know what an agency was and that there was one in Cleveland. Like I didn't know anything. But the girl that I was working with was signed with an agency in Cleveland. And so she was like the primary talent. And she's like, you could probably get more work like this. You should check out this agency that I've been with. Tell them I sent you, And I said, okay, I'll check it out. And so then I got online and filled out like the submission form and sent a couple of pictures. And they're like, yeah, we'll sign you. And I was like, that was easy, Yeah. So eventually they were like, you should get some professional headshots. And so I was like, okay. So I had one of my friends who's actually like a wedding photographer do some headshots for me. And I booked like twice with that agency. And then I moved to Cleveland or Columbus, maybe a year or two later, and signed with Heyman. And in the first month, I booked 4 times. And I was like, oh, this is a busier market down here. I didn't realize that, but you have some big companies in Columbus and Cincinnati, which is only 2 hours south. So Procter and Gamble, P&G, is in Cincinnati, and they make toothpaste, body wash, soaps, like so tons of stuff P&G makes. So they need hand models. They need internal models for internal videos. Like they need so many people to help with those projects. And then in Columbus, you have Big Lots headquarters, DSW, like the list goes on. There's a ton in Columbus and Cincinnati. So it just worked out. And I'm like, eventually I had another job when I first moved here to Columbus. And then I stopped working there because I'm like, I'm making too much money doing this. Like, and I don't want to make my other job mad that I'm calling off work to get this job that pays 10 times as much as I would be making if I was working at this restaurant. So I'm like, forget it. I'm just going to do, modeling and acting and just call it a day.
Right. Well, that's a journey.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. So you said you signed with Heyman. Was that process a little bit different than just filling out the application? Did you have to do an audition with them?
I did. So I did an interview with Heyman. They ask you questions about what your goals are, what you want to do. And then they have you do like a 30-second or up to a minute of a monologue or a commercial. So you can do either. Like you can be acting like you're promoting a product, or you can just do a monologue. And so I think I acted like I was promoting some type of natural hair product, but I just wrote like some random script of stuff they would probably say in commercials. And the agent and the girl at the front desk, they both watched me and were like, yeah, we'll sign you. And I was like, that's it? Okay.
So crazy that you wrote your own material. I was like, I'm just going to do this. And okay, wow, okay. I wish I would have known that when I was auditioning. I wrote my own stuff and then just been like, yes. Okay, so you did that. And then, okay, so how long were you with Heyman before you started working for them? And what was that process, if you're okay with talking about that?
Yeah, so I was with Heyman 3 years, I believe.
Okay.
And then COVID hit. And the lady who was in the office didn't feel comfortable working around people because she has a child, and she also has another job, like her own business. So I think she just decided to lean into her own business, which is perfectly fine. She's awesome. I learned a lot from her because even from my first agency to my second agency, her being the audition coordinator, she gave me so much help. The first agency that I was with was more like they were used to dealing with more seasoned actors. So they wouldn't really give much feedback. So I didn't know if what I was doing was right or anything. Like the girl who would record me would be like, action. Okay, have a good day. And like, that would be it. And so I was like, was it okay? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's not helping me. So then when I went to Heyman, and the woman who was there in the audition office, she would coach me. And I'm like, I feel so much more relaxed having someone who can just tell me like, that's not what they're looking for. Like, you can't do that. Or maybe you should try doing this or whatever. So I was like, I think that when they asked me, hey, do you mind coming? Because they knew that this was my only job. So Heyman was like, do you mind being the audition coordinator? Because I know this is your only job. Do you mind doing it? I said, yeah, I have some flexibility now. I'll do it. So then learning from those 2 experiences, I'm like, I want to be able to help actors get comfortable, like I was able to get comfortable with the woman who was before me. So they just asked me, and I was like, sure.
That's awesome. And you do.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful for you every time I go into that audition room, because sometimes I go in there and I'm like, like there have been like paragraphs, like you showed me the ones, like paragraphs on paragraphs, ladies. And I'm like, what? How? Like whatever. So you really do. You put me at ease. You give me direction and like allow me to be me. So it's just, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for that compliment.
Yeah, they mean more you in the industry, because I think it's our jobs, I think, when we do that, to uplift each other, but also like when you're in that position to give someone just that little bit, because this industry is so hard. So if you can just help someone, why would you not? So thank you. I do appreciate that. How do you find still auditioning for roles and commercials, and then being an audition coordinator? Do you find that you kind of get like a little bit of a leg up, or do you feel like it's just kind of the same as it was before that you took that position?
I feel like I was booking before, like I became the audition coordinator. I feel like I was booking pretty regularly. And to me, the reason for that, and I hope this doesn't make you guys uncomfortable, but the reason for that is just that there's not a lot of brown people in the industry. Like I can look at the roster, who all is signed with Heyman, because I have access to it when I'm uploading auditions and stuff like that. I can see who signed with Heyman. The biggest category is going to be white female. And then it goes down to Black females. And then it goes down to males. And then it goes down to white males. And then it goes down to Black. There's hardly any Black males. Mm-hmm. So 2 things that ends up happening is brown women who have natural hair on top of that. If you notice a lot of commercials, they want natural hair from Black women. So I have less competition than any of you guys would.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's just how the numbers are. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that even if I'm not the audition coordinator, I think I would book just as much as I do now. Honestly, I do like watching people's auditions. It's so much fun. Like I do get good ideas. I'll say that, but it helps me to help you guys more than anything. Like when you come into audition.
But I say also, you're always, at least with me, I don't know, but maybe I'm your favorite. I don't know. You offer me ideas that I don't even think of. So as much as you're probably getting ideas, I feel like you offer those to people as well to see if they can take that direction. But you are right. I feel like, even if I look at the roster, there, white women are up there. I think it's blonde, and then it goes like brunette, and then redhead, and then it's
exactly.
So there is a lot of competition, but I think you're really good at what you do as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So what do you like and don't, what do you see as an audition coordinator that you wish that people coming in auditioning would kind of know beforehand, or helpful tips that you have being on the other side?
I would say being prepared for your audition, to come in with any idea and practice that idea. Because sometimes people come in and be like, Rachael, tell me what to do. And I'm like, well, you haven't had any time to sit with this idea. Even if I just give you an idea right now, you have had no time to practice it. Like even for me, before I turn on the camera to record myself for somebody else to record me, I'm like reading over the script over and over so that it flows really naturally. And I can think of things to throw in. Like there might be a super boring script, because in the commercial world, there's lots of boring stuff that I have to read. But I have to bring life to it. So I have to figure out, what can I say, or what kind of mannerisms can I use to bring life to this script? And that in itself is acting. Making some, like, I remember I had a job where I had to talk about this was like an internal video, but it was like the health benefits for people who worked for a grocery store. And I had to make it exciting, health benefits. I don't even work for this grocery store. They're bringing down terminology where it's like, I don't even know what this means, to be honest with you. But like, I had to figure out a way to bring life to it, make it exciting for people to watch it and make them interested to want to sign up for health benefits. Mm-hmm. And the only way that I was able to do that is to read it beforehand and think, okay, I'm going to add this here. I'm going to add this here. my inflection is going to go here on this part. But if you come into the office and you haven't even looked at it, it's your first time looking at it, you don't have time to do that. You don't have time to bring life to it. And I think that's what a lot of times what casting directors are looking for, people who are comfortable on camera, number one. Nice. Like a lot of people don't care about their slate. I remember I always told you, like, make sure your slate is, even though it's only, hey, my name is Rachael, I'm with Heyman Talent. Like it still should be happy and comfortable on camera, because that gives them a little bit of a look into who you are and how comfortable you are on camera. So I just feel like having some idea of what you want to do when you get in there is super important.
Yeah. And how do you feel like with people, because you take both the auditions for commercials, but also for films that comes in.
Yes.
What are some like tips that you would have for those people that are coming in for films, and how is that different, I guess, too?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I guess with commercial, a lot of times they're looking for a very corporate feel a lot of times. Of course, you still want to be relaxed and natural, but they want some type of energy because you have 30 seconds to make that consumer really want what they're selling.
Mhm.
So, if I'm coming into an audition for a commercial, I would probably have a lot more energy than if I was coming in for a film where it's supposed to be day-to-day life. Day-to-day life, I'm not smiling and talking to you like this. Like in a commercial, that's what they're going to talk like, right? But in real life, day-to-day, I'm talking like this, more laid back, natural, casual speak. And sometimes people will take words and it sounds like somebody else wrote them. So when in a film, you want it to feel like you're saying them, you're thinking of them as you're speaking.
Mhm.
So I'd say that's probably the biggest difference is that naturalness that comes across a lot of times in film, because they want it to feel like you haven't rehearsed this over and over again. So make it feel like your words, I would say, is really important, which is hard to do. Acting is hard, especially in film. Oh my gosh, like to make it feel real, you got to fill yourself up with that emotion.
Mhm.
Some people think, oh, so this is what it's supposed to look like, and they'll put it on, but they don't actually feel the emotion.
Yeah.
So think about something, if it's, something that's supposed to make you angry, like think about something that actually does make you angry.
Yeah.
And get hot, and it's taxing emotionally. But if you really want to be a good actor, that's what you got to do.
Mhm.
So in the commercial world, you don't have to fill yourself up with any emotion most of the time.
Just happy.
Right. Just a happy emotion. Think of something that makes you happy, and then you'll be great in the commercial world.
Do you find that people come in for auditions not dressed for the part, whether that be commercial or film? Do you think that they tend to go like costumey or not, like they just don't show up at all, like ready for it? What would be your advice on that?
All the time. And casting directors have a terrible imagination. So you have to put them in the mindset of, no, I can really be a doctor. So if you're supposed to be a doctor, go ahead and put a collared shirt on and put your lab coat on. If you have one, lab coats are cheap. Get them from Amazon for $12 or whatever.
Mhm.
Like that's something that I definitely think is important for you to put them in the mindset of, I can do this role because look, this is what I look like when I dress myself up like this.
Mhm.
So, and even I think for me, I can lean a little bit younger. Like if my hair is up like this and I'm kind of dressed down, they'll think I'm 18 or 19 years old sometimes. But if I'm dressed up, she can be a mom. Yeah. Because the uniform really changes things. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's really important to dress the part for sure. No
What would
question about it.
What would you say are some definite no's in the wardrobe department when you're auditioning?
Tight patterns are terrible on camera.
Mhm.
It looks like your shirt is moving like this the whole time. So tight patterns are really bad. Anything overly sexual for a role that's not sexy
Mhm.
is not good.
Mhm.
I'd say sometimes people will wear their hair almost like covering their face partially, and maybe like glasses, like maybe those thick, bulky glasses. Not cool because it doesn't look like you're comfortable on camera. Like you don't even want your face to be shown. Second, what do you even look like? Like I can't even tell what you look like when your face is half covered with hair and glasses.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's probably the top 3 for me.
Okay. And then so when you tape the first initial auditions, did you tape callbacks as well?
Sometimes it depends on, because sometimes they want the callback to be in person. So in that case, of course, you would meet the client. But yes, I do tape callback sometimes.
Do those tapes different at all? Or you feel like the atmosphere is different at all when you're doing those callback tapes?
Not really. No, I think that it's about the same as the initial audition, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And do you usually tell people to come in and do the same thing that they've done previously? Do you know what I'm saying?
Expound on that question.
I'm sorry.
Expound on that question.
Oh, okay. So like they've done the take, and if they're doing the take again, would you say do exactly what you did last time? Or do you find people try to change it up and do it differently? Or do you think they come in and they're like, I'm going to do exactly like I did last time? Does that make sense?
Some people kind of fall into a category. And so like they'll kind of do the same thing, or they'll even just only get auditions for very similar roles.
Mhm.
But I mean, I guess everybody has like their tendencies. I'll say that,
Okay.
you know.
Okay. Trying to think of anything else. And I've like asked you a million questions already.
It's so
It's
interesting.
okay.
So interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so neat to always hear to be on the other side. Um Usually when you do auditions, how quickly do you find that the turnaround is? Does it just depend on the commercial and the or film? The
I've
turnaround?
seen turnaround. You mean like from the audition to actually booking the job?
Yes.
I've seen as short as like one day, like literally the next day, they'll call you and be like, hey, you got it. And
Mhm.
I've seen 2 months.
Oh,
Is because like sometimes stuff will get pushed around, especially during COVID. Once again, stuff will get pushed around. Like there was one audition that I had before COVID. I think I was supposed to shoot in like March. I ended up shooting in August, if I'm not mistaken,
okay. Yeah, yeah. So
because of
you didn't
COVID.
got it until August.
They told me I got it in June. In
Oh,
June, they told me. So it
okay.
was like 3 months before they told me that I got it.
Wow. That's a long
Yeah.
way.
Because you
Yeah.
always wonder, but you do hear people doing a commercial and then it's like, oh, I didn't hear until like 6 months later that they wanted me to do it. And then people that, like you said, are seasoned and book a lot, how do you guys do your schedule? Like, are you able to then accept that role, or is that whoever you commit it to first?
So I've actually made this mistake before. What happened was I was on hold for a job,
Mm-hmm.
and then another agent, because they don't really communicate amongst themselves when it comes to different jobs. Because if it's a different project, why would you talk to everybody about it? So they don't really communicate with each other about it. So one agent called me and said, hold this date. And that was probably like a week prior to this.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few days later, I got another call from another agent and said, you booked this job and it was on this same day. So I said, okay. And I accepted the booking. I didn't say anything about being on hold for the other job. I didn't know. I thought if you book a job, take it. Like you shouldn't, oh, well, I can't because I might book this other job. I didn't know. So the other agent called me like, hey, did you just accept another job on the day that you were holding for me? I was like, yeah. So she's like, no, that's not how it goes. I was like, I'm so sorry, but I didn't know. So yeah, that happens sometimes where like I'll be on hold for a job and I have to turn down a definite booking because I was holding.
And that's a question I wanted to ask. So in this area, and I just found this out, I knew that you could have multiple agents, but you have to have what's called a mother agent, correct? And that if you were to get the same job, one agent sends you the same commercial and then the other one, you would have to book with your mother agency, right?
The way that it works in Ohio, at least, I don't know about outside of Ohio, but because I'm only booked with 2 agencies.
Mhm.
So anything that is Columbus and South would be Heyman. And then anything that is Cleveland and North would be my other agency.
Okay.
So even if I get, let's say, a Cleveland audition from Heyman, I have to go to my other agency and say, hey, I got this audition. Can I book it through you guys? And they'll, okay, yeah, you can.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm just wondering how that,
I have heard of what you're talking about though. Like maybe I know Heyman has placed like runway models and editorial models in LA. And so let's say they have a second agency in LA.
Mhm.
Heyman still gets a cut for like, I think it's 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, gets a cut of all their LA jobs for 3 years. So, and that is, I think, what you're talking about with the mother agency.
Yeah, that could be how that falls into that. And sometimes I've heard that, if you do book a job like that, you do have to pay both agencies. So that would make sense. Okay, well, thank you for answering all of my questions.
Of course.
And to Heather now.
And I actually kind of wanted to piggyback on that one. Like when you like, does that happen often where they call you and they're like, hold this date? I mean, do you ever say no, that you're not going to hold it because you have like feelers out for another job? Or, I mean, have you lost bookings because you held a date and then nothing panned out?
Yes, that has happened. So that one that I was telling you about in it was in Michigan actually, and they had told, I think it was mostly because of the pandemic. I think somebody had caught COVID at some point in time, but they moved the date of that shoot 3 times. So the second time it was like a 3-day job. So I had to hold 3 days. So there was another definite job that I had to turn down. And then, and I lost it. And then they moved the date and I was like, oh, I lost it. And they moved the date again. So that was tough.
Yeah.
But it does happen.
Yeah. Okay. So usually I talk about like how you prep for roles and that kind of thing. But going back to like auditioning, we know that this is like the harshest industry to be in, where you get told no a lot. So do you have any mindsets or things that you do like to keep from getting down about hearing no? Because we hear no more often than yes.
Yes. With auditions, I audition frequently. Like our agency is pretty busy. So I might be auditioning 3-4 times a week, if not more. And so what I'll do is I'll audition for a role and completely forget about it. And not everybody has this luxury. I understand that, because you want to keep days open if you have a job, another job. I don't have another job. So I'll just throw it out there and literally forget about it. Like they'll call me, be like, you got this job. And I was like, what job? Hold on, let me look back at my emails because I don't even remember it. So I would say, like, do it and just forget it. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. So, and to me, I don't really feel bad if another talent who kind of fits my description ends up getting it, because there's enough to go around. Like, I'm not a jealous type whatsoever. If I can't get all the jobs, it's perfectly fine with me. I can't handle all the jobs, but
that's a great mindset. You know, it's so positive.
It helps, because otherwise you'll be mad.
Has there ever been an audition where you left from and you were just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this or that? Or do you have like a story you mind sharing with us? Or if you want to skip, you can skip.
Yeah, no. Yes, it's definitely happened before. This was probably like year 2 of being in the industry. And it was really bad. I still am, honestly. This is another reason why I don't want to do film, is that I have a terrible memory when it comes to like memorizing lines and words. I'm so bad at it. So for this one, I had to memorize probably 5 or 6 lines, which isn't that much. So I should have been able to do it. But I think, and I felt like I had it. I had to drive to Pittsburgh for this callback with the client. Okay. So this is like a 3-hour drive. So I'm like, oh, I think I got this. Okay. I'm driving. I'm practicing my lines. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get in here. So what they did, a lot of times what they'll do is have somebody read back and forth. So like it was a conversation it was for a bank commercial. And they had the girl who I was competing against audition with me, which never happens. Usually it's like one of the people who work with the client who audition with you. But it's even more nerve-wracking when it's your competition, because you just have so much going through your head, you know? So that really threw me off. Another thing I didn't realize was that he was going to have me read it so many different ways. So because this was like one of my first callbacks with the client there, he's like, okay, now do it sassy. Okay, now do it with the attitude. Okay, now do it like really happy. Now do it kind of sad. And I was like, I did not practice this. I did not practice any other way except for the one way that I was practicing it. And I did a horrible job, forgot lines, couldn't really adjust like he wanted me to. When I did adjust, it was like I was forgetting lines. And I just walked away from it like, I just drove 3 hours for nothing because I did a horrible job. Like that was so bad. But after that, like it kind of broke me of being nervous. And I just felt like I'm not going to get any job if it's a callback. So the next callback I went in with that attitude, which was actually good because I didn't care as much. So I came in less nervous. I was just like, whatever, it is what it is. Here it is. I'm going to give you this call back. How was that? And they're like, that's great. And I'm like, really? But it was because I stopped caring so much. So it became way more natural that way.
Yeah. So I'm guessing for commercials, when you go into audition, they don't throw out, now do it this way. Now be sassy. Now be angry.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do that. So now I practice it different ways after that experience, because I don't know whether or not they're going to ask for it to be read different ways. So I do practice it now all different ways.
And you've done
good learning experience.
Rachel,
Oh, for sure.
So when you're doing the takes, like say you're helping Ashley do her tape and stuff.
Yeah.
How do you decide which one of hers to send off? Is that part of your job, or do you just send them all off?
It is part of my job, yes. So I'll just select the best ones usually, or the ones that it sounds like they're looking for in the audition script, like instructions. So like the audition instructions, it'll be like, we're looking for somebody who reminds us of, Mila Kunis. Is that her name? Mila? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Jennifer Gardner. And so I'll think about, okay, does this fit that description? Okay. Or did she remember all the lines on this one? All right, I'm going to send this one in, whatever one feels like what they're asking for, and whichever one's the best.
Oh, the power.
So do you have any specific routines or anything that you do before days that you shoot to get into your character?
I try to sleep as much as I can. That's it. I'm a big napper. I believe in naps. And that's about it. I mean, I like to read through the material so that I'm familiar with it, of course. But I don't really feel like I do anything special.
What do you tend to do between takes? Because, I mean, we know that you could be sitting there like for a very long time. Do you read a book or do you just sleep?
I think, okay, so this is something that a lot of people don't pay attention to, which is everybody matters on set. So I'm talking about the lighting guy. I'll have a conversation with him. The PA who maybe only makes $9 an hour, I'll have a conversation with them. The producers and their lives, like I try to create connections because that's the jobs that I get called back to on a regular basis. They feel like they know you. They send Rachael over here. Yeah, just she's easy to work with. I already know her. So in between takes, I try to create relationships with people around me.
That's such good advice.
It's really important. And some people act like, oh, he's just a lighting guy, he doesn't matter. But if that lighting guy is in the room when they're making the selection on who they want to use, and he says, oh no, she has a terrible attitude, she says she don't even like you. You're not going to get the job now because you were rude to the lighting guy. Or even in the agency, like if somebody, like let's say the girl who works at the front desk in Cleveland, even like she's very quiet, like she's real quiet, timid, but she has a huge bearing on who gets signed, who gets auditions sent to them, and people don't even realize that because she doesn't talk a lot. But you need to be nice to her. Like make it a point to be nice to everybody on set and make a connection with everybody on set, because they could bring your name up in a room later on when like I don't know, the productions companies trying to figure out who they want for a project. And they're like, I don't feel like doing all these auditions. Who should we have? Like that happens all the time where a production company will just be like, hey, can you send Rachael, please? They won't ask to do an audition at all. They'll just say, can you send Rachael? And it's because of the relationships you create. So in between takes, I'm always trying to talk to people, get to know them, their family, their experiences, and not just talk about myself the whole time. Like that's important.
Now, you said that you do this just full time now. So is there a moment before you quit your job where you just had like a moment of like, I can do this full time, like I can be a working actress full time? Like what was that moment, and was it scary to take that leap of faith, or were you just at that point where you were ready for it?
Fortunately, I have a husband who is awesome, and he has a full-time job. Well, he has a part-time job and he can pick up hours where he wants to. And we live a pretty simple life financially. So we were able to make I was able to make kind of a decision that was a little bit riskier financially and say, okay, this is all I'm going to do. But I'm going to say it hit me. I was working at a restaurant as a hostess, and at the restaurant, we were allowed to like dress up real nice. It was supposed to be like a black dress, black dress, and you could put like big chunky jewelry on, and you could do your makeup up nice. And the girls at the front used to always do that. They were a lot younger than me, but but we all used to dress up for work. And so this lady comes in who's dining at the restaurant, and she's like, have you ever thought about modeling? And I was like, yeah, I'm a model. And she's like, oh, you are? She's like, do you want to do this catalog for Bed Bath & Beyond with us? It's their college edition. I was 29 at the time. And I was like, well, I'm not college age, but yes, I would like to do that. So call my agent. And so that job was worth like $1,500. And so I was like, why am I working at this restaurant? And that's when it hit me, like, I could be making a lot more money per day. So I think I'm just going to lean into this a little bit more. And so another issue that was happening was I was booking and had to call off work more often. So I'm like, it came to the point where like, I'm going to burn this bridge working at this restaurant with these people. Like, they're going to be mad at me. I'm going to get fired if I don't leave. So I eventually was booking enough that I'm just like, I'm going to leave.
So one of the questions that I actually have is, a lot of people, they think, oh, you're an actor. If you are an actor in like film, you make all this money. Everybody's rich that's an actor. But that's not necessarily true. And we kind of discussed this. Commercial acting is where the money is, especially in this market that we're currently in, and how different the pay could be. Can you talk about like that, or do you feel comfortable talking about how different the pay is?
Well, I can talk about from my experience what I've seen come through the agency, at least.
Yeah.
Like, of course, the big name actors, and if you're a main character, then you're going to make more money. Right. However, the stuff that shoots around here, like the Ohio area, we just looked at a project last week, me and you, Ashley, where there was a commercial project that was worth 4 times as much as the film was. And the film, sometimes you can be on SAG scale, but SAG has so many different pricing. I don't know. I'm not in SAG as of yet. I kind of feel like I might join pretty soon, or be forced to join pretty soon. But yeah, like $250 versus like $1,000 for a day. Yeah. So I have no interest in film at all. And on top, like, not only just because of the money and having to memorize lots of things, but also, like I was telling you guys before, like, or Ashley at least, is that I have to have like a pretty clean image, because my husband and I teach the Bible in sign language. So essentially we're both ministers. So we kind of have to practice what we preach. So we can't just do whatever a film wants us to do. And at the end of the day, it's X-rated. And then my Bible students are like, I just saw you doing, and so I have to be really careful about the projects that I select, even in commercials. Like, there might be commercials that have interesting subject matter that doesn't fit my lifestyle. So I just have to be careful about reading the script and asking questions and letting them know what I will and will not do. But you can do that in the commercial world. In film, you don't really have a choice. You do what they tell you to do. Or they're just going to select somebody else because it's such a hot commodity. Everybody wants to be in film. So same thing for like runway. Runway doesn't really pay that well either in comparison to the commercial and lifestyle type of work, because everybody wants to be a runway model. They want to be in fashion. So anybody will do it. They'll do it for free a lot of times. Like, there's so many things that come through the agency that are trade for print. Like, we're going to use your image. We're not going to pay you though. We're just going to give you the photos.
Do you ever come up against it when you're doing a certain subject matter, or you've said to a director or whoever's in charge of the day that I'm not happy doing that? Do they receive that quite well usually, or do they get a bit funny?
Most of the time in the commercial world, they're pretty cool about it. I think my agents are really good about selecting projects for me that fit my standards. So it's only happened a couple of times really that I was like, I don't really feel comfortable doing that. And they're like, oh no, I understand. That's okay. You can do that in the commercial world, and they're not too mad about it.
And it's good that you're able to keep your values and still be able to do what you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a blessing. It's pretty cool that I've been able to navigate it thus far.
So we're coming towards the end, and what we do at the very end is we always like to ask our guests, was there anything that you wanted to talk about that we did not specifically ask you? We can talk about it now, or if you feel like we've hit everything you wanted to discuss, then we can start to wrap up.
Well, one interesting fact I think that has helped me too is that I'm fluent in American Sign Language. So the missionary work that we did in Honduras overseas was to teach the Bible to people who were deaf. So that type of sign language in Honduras is not as advanced as like American Sign Language here in the States. Although I know American Sign Language and I'm fluent in American Sign Language, that was totally just acting out feelings, thoughts, ideas, and that was it. Like that's kind of how you taught them sign language. And then you can give them the official signs once they understood the concept. Mm-hmm. So it was a challenge, but oddly enough, sign language has helped me a lot in this industry because of the expressiveness. So if you notice, there's a lot of commercials where the actual actor on screen is not saying anything, mm-hmm. but they are using their face and their body language to convey a thought or an idea. So on screen, if they want somebody who's expressive, it's way easier to do that if I've already been doing sign language for 10 years. So that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize, like being expressive is extremely important. Like this is going to sound silly, but like making faces in the mirror even, or recording yourself making faces just to bring across an idea to the audience is really interesting. So it's I think the reason why I'm attracted to sign language and to acting is that you can express yourself in certain ways. Same thing with singing, you can express certain emotions and it's just fun. Like I love the arts period, but it's fun.
But that's a good point that you made because they really do connect very well together.
Trying to think of anything else I thought about. Oh, my husband has done a few projects with me. I don't know if I told you that, Ashley.
Oh, you haven't.
How was that working with your husband?
He loves it. He's not even signed with an agency, but he's booked 2 jobs. So, one was Scott's Lawn Care. The other one was Bed Bath & Beyond.
Wow.
So
struggling. It's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna get there.
Say it again, Ashley. I'm sorry.
Like I've got an agent and I'm struggling. So, but it's okay. I'll get there.
Well, again, COVID, they wanted real couples. So they kept sending out auditions like real couples all the time. So we probably auditioned for 5 or 6 things together.
Oh my God, I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, real couples and real families and stuff like that. I should try and get my husband to join me.
Did you find it awkward, like pretending with him versus when you're like by yourself or with someone else? Was it awkward? Or
not really awkward as much as like he needed a lot of more help than I thought he would. Because I'm so used to being on camera that like when you first start being on camera, you tense up. But then once you get used to it, you come on like, okay, let's take some pictures. And like for him, he came on like, what do I do? Am I doing it right? I'm like, just relax. My goodness, man. Like this is you've been around me, but all those lights and people, it's hard to act natural with all of that happening around you. So it was fun to have him on set, but it was just, it took him a minute to really relax.
That's what I was going to ask. Did he get better? Did he do well?
He did. Yeah. He started getting more relaxed and I told him to make a conversation with people around him. And that's another benefit of making connections is that you feel more comfortable with the people around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's for sure very, very important to make sure that you make those connections.
Mm-hmm. Is this something he's going to try to pursue more? Or was it just kind of we needed to apply because it was a couple things. So
well, my other agency, again, like one of the smallest demographics is going to be Black men, right? So my other agency in the Cleveland area, they submit him for projects all the time because they don't have enough Black men on their roster. So they're like, hey, can we submit your husband for this? Is he available these days? Like they call me at least twice a month and ask about his availability for a project.
You need to list yourself as his manager.
Right? I need a cut of his money now.
Yeah, he should just sign. If he's like getting a call.
Yeah, he's on hold for a project right now.
Good for him. That's exciting for him.
Yes.
Fun.
Yes. But I mean, he is very attractive, so that matters, I guess.
Love it.
I might be biased, but
have the commercials come out yet where he could see himself on screen yet? Was he like
so they were both print jobs. So one is on the Bed Bath & Beyond site. You can actually look at the site now. It's under the wedding registry. You'll see me and him in 2 pictures on the wedding registry section.
So one of the things we always like to ask at the end is just 3 words that describe your journey thus far, or where you feel like you're at in your career. And
How about, can I use 4 words?
yes.
Okay. It's never too late.
Like that one.
I like that. Yeah.
That's perfect for the BWB.
Oh yeah.
You don't know what the not everybody knows. So we like to call ourselves the Betty White Brigade.
Okay.
Just because we started this
Older.
journey in life, and I think that actually like sums up like our whole model like of doing this. Also to learn journeys, but you can start whenever. So I think that that's amazing. That's
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I started when I was 28.
mhm.
And I think a lot of people kind of think poorly of people who decide to career change later in life. And I think that's kind of silly, in my opinion, because if something doesn't make you happy, they're not a part of your unhappiness.
Mhm.
And so I kind of feel like you should lean into what fits for your life, and circumstances change too. What fits for your circumstances today, not what fit for your circumstances 20 years ago, or, oh, you went to school for this and now you're doing this. Oh, you wasted your money, kind of thing. And I don't think that's fair, because they have no bearing on your happiness. So I don't believe it's ever too late to get into something that you love.
That was a great pep talk.
That is. I always like to say, if they're not paying a bill, they don't get to make any decisions.
That's right.
So
Preach.
Agreed. And then the one thing we always like to end with too is just one piece of advice you might have for maybe your younger self, or somebody who maybe is just now getting into this industry.
One thing that I joke about, because I'm the youngest child, so I've been bossed around my whole life, right? And there were some decisions that I was making that my family or friends would not have made. So I always say that I'm like the originator of a lot of things. So I would probably tell myself, don't listen to nobody. Do you? Because I felt like there were so many times that I'm like, well, they said I can't do this, or I shouldn't do this, or no one else is doing this. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. Have that confidence to do it.
Exactly. And that's something that you don't have as a young as a young person, is the confidence to do certain stuff. And people are trying to tell you what you should be doing, because I'm sure there's lots of things that they are wise about. But when it came to, like, I guess, my creativity and thinking outside the box, because nobody in my family was like that, thinking outside of the box. And when I told them that I was thinking about going into acting or starting to go into acting, they're like, what? Okay. Like they didn't get it, but now I can do something that I love to do full time. So if I would have listened to them, then I would not have been where I am now.
Isn't it crazy how acting, like the entertainment industry, is one of those jobs where if you say that's what you want to do, people are like, what? But if you say you want to be a lawyer or a doctor, yes, you can do that. But I want to, act. Oh, come on. Really? I mean, like, it seems like that just, I don't know why that is.
Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, like, especially in the Midwest, I feel like most of the work that I do is very corporate. Like I was talking about P&G, before I go into a commercial, before I show up, you've had lawyers and board members and a creative team get together and decide what needs to happen when I step onto set. And so I have to follow direction specifically. I can't go outside of that box. Sometimes I'll ask, oh, am I allowed to do this? Or am I allowed to say this? Because it might be a little off script, because they've already decided what can and can't be said on set, like on camera. So I feel like in the Midwest is a totally different game. And it's easier to feel, I don't know, more confident in my decision to have this as a full-time career, just because, it's not as iffy as like film and stuff like that. You don't know when that work is going to come up. It's not really regular, and, it's different, totally different world.
Yeah. So do you have an Instagram that people can follow you at to see what you're working on?
Yeah, I do. It's Ray of Love 89. So if that's my my work account. So if
We'll
you're
also
interested, you
put
can
it-
follow it.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description.
Sure.
So people can click it too. That's my section ending. I think we got it all in. So
Yes.
yeah.
Such an informative chat. It was brilliant. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. I hope you
Of
didn't feel
course.
pressure. I feel like every audition I was like, hey, do you wanna come? Like,
Have you thought about it yet? Have you thought about it yet? You can come. You can thought about it. You can come on the podcast.
you gonna come? And these girls know like how nervous I get about asking people. I do.
Really?
I'm so like intrigued by it, and I am so honored. And I mean, all of us, not just me, are honored when anybody wants to come on. But I do get really nervous about asking people because I don't know, like, hey, do you want to come chat with me for like 2 hours? You know?
You were smooth with it.
Yeah. So I try not to be overbearing about it, but definitely so appreciative of you coming. And
Of course. I had fun with you guys. Thank you.
Bye.